Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can join the show by clicking the button and joining the panel to express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello!
You're here.
Hello! Hey, good morning.
Hello. Stupid Discord crashed just before I started the live show, which always throws me off completely.
Oh, shoot.
Wondering why I'm
no.
stumbling through my intro, that's why. Go ahead, whoever that was. Or talk while I'm talking and then leave total silence. Either's good.
Right. So, Nathan, a skeptical mind, right, is quite important when it comes to all these observations. You got to get outside of that religious belief. I've noticed that a lot of Globers are very strong in religious belief. It's like walking into a synagogue of Globe Satan. I'm going to be honest with you. It's really weird. It's strange behavior. I don't get it. I don't understand the cognitive science of it. Something has to do with the brain function.
You're going to go nuts yourself if you try and divine other people's motivations in this regard. All you can do is take apart their arguments.
True. You're right, Nathan. You're right. That's absolutely
Hold on,
correct.
but heliocentrism is a religion.
Yes,
we
it
all
is.
agree on that.
Yeah, but the motivation behind people adhering to that religion in the face of us and what we say and becoming anti-flat earth religious zealots, the motivation behind that, we can't divine. We can speculate.
They're being... Okay, my speculation is they're being controlled by Satan. He's the liar of this world. He promoted this lie, and everybody believes it.
I don't like that. See, if you just ascribe men and their wrongdoing to Satan, suddenly you're absolving them of a certain amount of responsibility, in my opinion. But there we go, that's just me.
No,
they are responsible, though, Nathan. They are responsible, man, because they're regurgitating this bullocks that obviously does not make no sense. Like, red shift, blue shift proves that the universe is expanding, this and that. It takes faith, therefore belief, therefore religion.
I don't disagree.
It's redundant.
As I say, all we can do is challenge their arguments. Go ahead, 10th.
No, I came in after getting a refill on the cup of tea, so I didn't catch the beginning. But based on what I've heard to this point, I think the part I caught was, why is it that people, in the face of evidence that we're providing, are still defending for a spherical belief with religious zeal? Okay, and then when you say when we have a discussion about it, back and forth, proving the points why it cannot be a sphere, why are they defending it still after that point? Is that where this question started?
Pretty much. It is. Like, what grabs them, no pun intended, gravitate them to that paradigm? Like, how can you see? I like to see through a Glober's eyes.
Right.
Like,
you were one.
A zealot.
You were one. Everyone here was.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
not that bad. Not after I've seen evidence.
I see his point. I see his point here, Nathan, because I can go to people I know, and prior to me speaking openly to them about it, I'm the guru. Hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And blah, blah, blah. People hold each other's friends at different levels of, respect and knowledge. And I have people like that in my life that I go to because they're that way to me. Now, if one of them came to me, someone I hold up in some kind of esteem and level in life, and said to me something like flat Earth, and I'm a glober, I say, wait a minute, you're smarter than that. What? Don't fall for that conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. So that means I have been programmed and conditioned by the media that if anybody talks about flat Earth, they're conspiratorics, they're crazy. So I fling this onto my friend that I never would have done before on any other subject because I respected them prior, right? So all of a sudden, because I got controlled by the media, my friend's crazy.
Right. Yeah, it's wild. I had one Glober, right? I had a discussion with. His name is Foolish. Okay, he's a decent Glober. I have to be honest. I told him about you can manipulate magnetism. You could take it and get a magnetizer and get a magnet and get the guy where it has power, like a subwoofer. You can magnetize it, right? Where it can have more power handling, and you can manipulate that for the RMS, root mean square, and all that rigmarole. He agreed with it. Yeah, you can manipulate that with another object. And you can't do that with gravity. He agreed with that. But then I'll go to another Glober about the same argument. Nope, they'll disregard it. Right out, they'll just hand wave it all day long. It's baffling.
Well, it gets worse than that because whereas one single phone call previous to the subject matter would have had them in your house within driving time. Now you say, let's meet and talk about this. No, I'm not. No, we can be friends, but I don't ever want to talk about this with you. Whoa.
Why would you want to? I remember back in the day moaning at Chemo for being a flat earth evangelist. And the same applies. I know this is going to be a difficult conversation with you, 10th, because that's your shtick, right? That's what you do.
No, hang on, be careful. Let me set my stage before you go there. When I say talk about it, I mean the initial discussion one time just to see, and because I don't force people to do anything. I don't force people to become Christians because that's a work of God. I'm a witness for God, and I'm a witness for the evidence for flat Earth. I present the evidence and I leave it be. But I can't even get that first meeting.
Okay, let's do a bit of housekeeping because we've had a nice little chit-chat extending over from the pre-show, which isn't attached to this thanks to OBS crashing. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Negative.
I need that tangent point first.
Maybe there's some ballers in Discord. Where's Staggerly? Pull them out.
Yep.
Go fishing.
Yeah, where they all at?
Don't know if there is.
I mean, because this is the question, right? I mean,
hello, Owen.
This should be answered by ballers, right?
Correct. I mean, it's like a unicorn in your garage. I mean, or like an elephant in your garage. Oh, it's there. We can see it, but it's not there. It's just an apparent because it's always refracted.
Then it's not an Earth curve physically blocking stuff like boats and buildings. Speaking of that,
refracted unicorns are very difficult.
Indeed. Speaking of that exact discussion, so on Saturday at the usual debate time, which is 2 p.m, I'll come to that at the end of housekeeping as well. There's another issue about times for the show, which I want to discuss with an audience here. But at 2 p.m. UK, which is the normal live show time in the week, I trimmed out one of the other show's bits and edited it down to be a bit more concise with a guy who came in and, thanks to Stagoli, entered in discussion on the first housekeeping question. And, it lasted a good 40 minutes. I edited it down to about 25 minutes. But yeah, that'll be released on Saturday. So check it out, because that's how far the conversation goes with that first housekeeping question, if it's asked first. Because typically, any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline would be the first question because it's the new hotness. But if you ask for Earth curve first, that's where the Earth curve heliocentric model basically fails. We debunked it in 2015 by pointing out the errors and foibles of the Earth curve calculator, and now we've debunked the very geometry it's based on. So there's nothing left in that regard. It's been left in ashes.
I have a photo. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. Dr. John D. Did it looking on to France. and it kind of shows angular size change. Now, the bottom of these channel markers, or the portion of the turbines, are the 17 meters, which is 54 feet. So even if you use standard refraction, you get about 30 feet, but the horizons beyond that, the geometric horizon in this should be no more than 2.62 miles away.
Oh, perfect. So shout out to Dr. John D. So, a fellow ballbuster. Sounds like what he's showing is the typical effects of bottom-up obstruction due to angular limitation prior to the horizon formerly known as Earth curve. So you can say, here's the effect you would have said is blocking the bottom of this wind turbine. But it's definitely not the horizon formerly known as Earth curve because it's happening in the foreground. And here's the horizon behind it, Black Swan. Yeah, absolute annihilation by the sounds of things. I'll have to check that out. Shout out to you, Dr. John D.
Isn't John D the one that you went through the scientific method with?
Yes.
I'm just curious. Good story.
Yeah, I don't want to go through that story to embarrass Dr. John D. There's no need for that.
Yeah, it took a lot of guts on your part.
Yeah. That might be true, but I had nothing to lose, Neil. In the same instance, anybody who comes here with a PhD has got a lot to lose, which is why they don't want to come here. No, I'm not divining their thoughts, I'm just stating a fact. Me, I'm a grunt. Half the time I get simple basic maths wrong. But for me to challenge a PhD based on their understanding of science is arrogant.
Well,
technically, you're a delivery boy.
Hang on. How did the guy? I'm not talking about Dr. John D. I'm just talking in general. How does anybody get a PhD? Don't they have to pass certain exams, do certain criteria with work that's already been in print, and they got to answer the questions the way the questions must be answered, whether he tested it or not, or he doesn't pass the grade?
Well, just good. You just gotta have good memory to regurgitate the information.
Great. So that means any individual testing experiments that may have been opposite of the answers of the tests for his PhD, he could not put them as the answers, or he would never get his PhD.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of flat earthers, as yourself, I'm sure of it, that can play Glober. It's not that hard to regurgitate mainstream information. You can put it on a test, pass the test, and go on your way. Does not mean necessarily that you believe the earth is a sphere or all the mainstream science is correct.
Yeah, my point in saying that's regurgitating that story the way I did is that all you're debating with the Glober who's referencing a PhD, or the PhD guy or gal herself, is that same argument. So he can beat that argument at one level. He can beat it if the guy's got 10 diplomas. It don't matter.
True, right?
On the subject, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Email.
That's a funny one.
Do you think they'll ever be? Just out of curiosity.
Well, not concerning things that actually are in the model, like nothing about that, right? Because it's all presuppositional conception anyway, so you can't. But they might try something sort of adjacent, but why would they do that, right? They just want everybody to focus on the model, on the dream. And you can't have a viable hypothesis based on that.
Correct.
Nope,
If
you'll
the
have a
model
good
won't
campfire
work,
story,
just
though.
make a new one.
Was there any more on that, Don?
Yeah, no, pretty much. I mean, it's pretty simple. Good campfire story. It's hey, I seen Bigfoot one day. That's gather all your friends. That's what that is. Going off of Arwen.
Right,
Hey,
just so...
Bigfoot is real.
No, okay.
Right? It's
less of that.
It's more likely they will find a viable hippopotamus instead. than a viable hypothesis.
Right. Just so stories aren't viable hypotheses. Right on. What about any scientific evidence of gravity?
No,
Oh,
but Karen
boy.
B has evidence of Bigfoot.
Can you manipulate gravity? That's
We
the
have
question.
to know what it is first.
True. You need to know what it is so you can manipulate it, like electromagnetism. You can manipulate that to manipulate the object that you're trying to, manipulate. But you can't do that with gravity. Only electromagnetism can do that.
Okay.
Well, the thing about electromagnetism is it's electromagnetism, not gravity.
True. That's right. That's right. But the formula of electrostatics and gravity is pretty much similar. You got the K, which is the constant, and the G, which is the constant.
What?
It's quite similar.
No,
The
it isn't.
formula, you say? You
It's
mean the
not similar
formula
at all.
of
Yes.
Newtonian gravity?
No, one is used and useful, and you can show it. The other doesn't exist.
That's true. The gravity, I do not, but electrostatics is real.
Yeah, but it's electrostatics, though.
Yeah, it's something totally different. Why are you presenting that like it's a comparison or juxtaposition with gravity? Number one, they're two different things. Number two, they're not comparable. Number three, if you do try and compare them, one is real, one isn't. I just don't understand this link. I do, but I want you to say it.
Well, it's just the fact that electromagnetism is something that should be touched on a little bit more, especially in the flat Earth community, because it has been hijacked. The formulas are quite similar, and I think they should be looked at more in depth.
But why? You say they've been hijacked.
Similar to what?
Who's hijacked them? And for what?
Religious people have hijacked, like they made it so. Okay, so you can get electrostatic, you can curve water with static, obviously, but you can't make it go into a sphere. They took gravity, which gives it a
Hold on, stop. You're about to compare something that doesn't compare then. So you're saying this electromagnetic force doesn't do anything that's now going to be compared to something that gravity does do on a sphere. Again, so straight off the bat, there's no reason to compare or contrast these two different things so far based on what you're about to launch into. If one doesn't do the thing that the other one is described to do, then they're not comparable. But they're being compared. I still don't know why.
well, because one is a push. I mean, gravity is a push, right? Electromagnetism is a repel and a attraction. It's both. Gravity is only one.
What? I think you're going by outdated models that are officially denounced.
Well, everything is inherently diamagnetic, right? So if you take, like, say,
No.
pyrolytic.
Stop.
Go ahead.
I stop. I don't need to have a lecture on how everything is something. If it's specifically in regards to how it compares and contrasts with gravity. So far, you were doing okay when you were like, well, one's got a pulling force and the others claim to be a pulling force. So like, okay, that's something I can get behind.
Yeah, that's paramagnetism.
Okay, but what effects of that are being hijacked? Because that was your first opener into this. Because you seem to think it's of great importance. So I want to know why.
Okay, so when they take an observation that they see, just like I was talking about earlier about the circumference of light and it appearing as spherical, they take that and reverse engineer it into what they need it to be.
Okay, what effect of electromagnetism or magnetism at all have they reverse engineered into something they need it to be?
To fit a globe, because electrostatics can't, as far as I'm aware of, I could be wrong, cannot make water stick to a ball, exterior of a ball.
But it's not claimed to. Yeah. Can anyone else? Is anyone else picking up what I'm putting down?
That's true,
here?
but gravity is. Gravity is.
Yes, so it doesn't compare or contrast to the thing that you are comparing and contrasting it with. Then If one is claimed to do that and one isn't, then how do they compare? They don't, do they? Yet you're still using them like they're side-by-side comparable, or one's been hijacked to demonstrate something that the other one doesn't do. If magnetism doesn't do that, it's not being hijacked and claimed as gravity, is it?
I could be very wrong about it, but I think they're hijacking electrostatics and
How?
claiming it to be
Give me an
gravity.
example. Don't you say you think they're doing it? So far, not so good. I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying that this crops up time and time again, and you've got this parallel contrast between gravity and electromagnetics, like there's some comparison to be had, or some hijacking being done, and you haven't yet to hear a good example.
Okay, so do you know what the electric participator is?
No.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna post it.
But just tell me how it's linked to a compare or contrast with gravity.
So they take molecules will have some sort of like weight to it, correct?
No.
Or matter, if you will.
No.
No.
No. Weight is a downward vector.
Sure. I'm with you on that. But downward vector is weight, correct?
Right, but you said molecules have got weight. No.
But they're down, right?
So gas go down, go boom boom then, right?
No, not at all.
So no then. So your starting premise to link this to gravity is a premise that doesn't stand true for a magnetic field or anything else. It's just not true. So you're going to compare or contrast it with this fundamentally incorrect premise about what gravity is describing versus what matter does with the downward vector it hasn't got. In your mind, this is linked, but, it isn't. It's been linked by flat earthers. Why, I don't know. I haven't looked into it to find out why that's been laid out to us on the feast of nonsense that we have to sort of get past when we first get here. A lot of people gorge themselves on it. I haven't gone down that road to find out why that's been plattered up and stuck in front of us. I'd like to know why, because loads of flat earthers talk about this. I don't know why.
Okay, so would you agree that like smoke is affected by the electromagnetic spectrum?
Maybe, but it's not gas, is it? Smoke's not gas.
Smoke is not gas?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not.
It's a form of it's a property of gas.
No, it's suspended particles of solid.
Are gases solid?
Gases aren't smoke. You said smoke.
So smoke is solid?
Suspended, yeah. Very fine particles, correct. You can use it as an analogy and say, here's how smoke behaves in certain circumstances, and you can compare that, because it does expand in certain circumstances, to fill the volume it's got. So you can show how that behaves when suspended in gas, little particles of solids that you can see, to demonstrate an effect that gas has. But it isn't a gas, no.
It's carried by gas, right? So when smoke billows, it's the heat of the gas that's carrying the smoke particles, which are solid. As soon as the heat evaporates, it just dissipates and dwells down.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you guys. I'm willing to learn, but I'm a flat earther that's more on the side of electromagnetism. I believe 100% that relative density and gravity and electromagnetism, there's a relationship that's going on there that is being misunderstood.
Hey, what relationship?
Gravity,
what relationship?
Gravity is not real, but I'm just saying the description of gravity. I'm not saying it.
Okay.
Gravity
well, how
itself.
how do these three things link together then? If you're saying that there is a link, what link?
The equation. I'm talking about the math. I'm not talking about the actual observation. It's electromagnetism, you can do different things with it.
Okay. But so what? How does that in any way relate to the deception in terms of gravity or the nature of the flat plane we dwell atop? If it's, you're like, I'm a flat earther and I think electromagnetism is important. Okay. Why make that statement as a flat earther? How is it important? Why is it important? How is it linked?
Because obviously electromagnetism has a magnitude, which is a vector that has a direction that goes in, and everything in Earth is inherently, naturally diamagnetic. It is repelled. Everything is affected by electrostatics.
Okay.
That is a variable that you need to control for.
No,
like
okay,
if you using the Cavendish experiment.
Hold on. Yes, that's a very nice sweeping statement. My question was in regards to how it links. Who's disturbing this discussion? Whoever's doing that, can you can it?
Yeah. The discussion is you need to control for that if you're trying to quote unquote test for gravity when you're doing the well, it's not an experiment, obviously, it's just an observation. But you need to control for that, for the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay, and?
That's why.
Okay, and?
Yeah, it is an and. I want the and.
No, but what? Yeah, but if you're doing an experiment which Cavendish is not.
It's not. Yeah, I agree.
So you're saying because of a non-experiment, you've got to have this control variable, that is something that you will hold constant to not affect the test. That suddenly something which is held constant to not affect a test, which isn't a test, Cavendish, somehow is very... Can you just pop yourself on mute while I'm in the middle of a sentence? Is that possible? Thank you. So it's a non-test that you're saying is critically important. We pay close attention to a non-variable. A variable that is held constant so as to not affect that test, which isn't a test. That, to me, is not in any way an important thing to focus on. But you're still, in your mind, it's really important. Now, I'm not saying it isn't, but you're yet to give me any connection or any reason to see it as important also. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, like, if you get like a Tesla meter, it's F71 or F41 Tesla meter, it'll let you know the axis of the electromagnetic spectrum and where it's like the strongest field of that. Like, it could be stronger in the x-axis or in the y-axis, but it has not been demonstrated that the variable has not been controlled of, because they use lead, which is diamagnetic in nature. So how can you control for electromagnetism? How do you do this?
You're talking about the non-experiment Cavendish again, like it matters.
Yes.
So because so just let me try one more time, because it's almost like you've completely ignored it. You were nodding along through it, then I asked you to mute and I repeated it, but you've ignored it entirely. What I just said. Twice. So what? It's held constant. Or not. This is a non-experiment. So based on a pseudo-science apparatus claimed by ballers to prove something, you're saying they don't hold electromagnetic fields constant as a non-variable, something which will be held constant. So what? That doesn't make it important in any way, shape, or form.
You're correct. I get it. Nathan, I'd like to apologize, man.
Don't apologize. You're helping illustrate to the audience how unrelated this is. In the same way, I could describe something that's benign, but extremely important in life in general. Our oxygen content that runs through our blood is extremely important to life itself. Yeah, how does that relate to flat Earth? Well, I see the oxygen content in our blood is extremely relevant to flat Earth. Well, why? Well, because gravity and oxygen and the amount in your bloodstream is linked. Well, how? Well, through this pseudoscience test that they do with blood and call it gravity. Yeah, but it's nonsense, though. Yeah, but they don't hold the blood constant in your bloodstream, your oxygen content. Yeah, but who cares? It's not a relevant test. It doesn't mean anything. No, but I still think it's deeply important that everybody focuses in flat Earth on the oxygen content in our blood because it's extremely important. Why? Because I think it is. Well, I don't see how it is, but I see lots of flat earthers saying it is and comparing it to gravity like there's some sort of contrast to be had that they never give. And then babble on about how important electromagnetism is for an hour or two.
But there's an important. I want to apologize. I've been drinking a little bit, bud. I'm gonna be honest.
No, there's no need to. I want to know why you think it's important, and you're telling us.
Well, my mind is a little cloudy now because I'm drinking. I'm gonna be honest.
Thinking, why do I care about this?
I'm trying to. I shouldn't have drink. I shouldn't have drank when. Dang it.
Oh, you're apologising for being fuzzy-headed. Oh, okay, that's different. What did you say, Neil?
Adam drinks all the time.
Is Adam here?
Yeah, well, I'm a little fuzzy right now. I want to be able to come back to this again eventually when I'm not fuzzy.
Fine. I'd love to know why electromagnetism is so important beyond the folly of understanding electromagnetism, which is extremely useful, don't get me wrong. But I don't see how it's pertinent in this arena, that's all.
But it's very great because there's been you got monopoles, spin ice. You know about spin ice?
Vaguely.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Right. So yeah, I was a big fan of the concept of Newtonian gravity for a while, and actually defending it before I got into a struggle about it with Tony. Right. We all know about that one. But electrostatics, it's so different from anything comparable to gravity because it has limitations. It has limitations in every way that the concept of Newtonian gravity does not have. It has a range limit. It has a measurable strength that decreases over distance, right? Also, it's not stable. So
true. That's right. That's right. You're correct. You're correct, but so is gravity. It's not stable.
What? No. We don't know what gravity is. It's a concept that's not even been defined.
I agree with you. Armin. We don't know what it is.
But how can you then say that it's not stable? Because it's not defined. I'm
saying the mainstream narrative that is, I can't.
Objection.
The narrative is unstable, but
back off your mic,
the thing is not even defined.
You're clipping your mic. Just back off it a little bit. Go ahead, John.
Please, John, object.
Well, this is a good example of why the false dichotomy is important to heliocentrists. Now that you're arguing gravity, Newtonian or otherwise, against the idea of electrostatics, you can keep it within the paradigm that it is a sphere. And you're just trying to figure out how you're sticking to that sphere.
Ah, gotcha. So long as everyone's begging the question of a sphere and a downward bias, early on discussed as the weight factor when detailing this argument, you've got both parties, one who thinks he's a flat earther in this example, and one, I'm not saying that's you, Don, I'm just saying hypothetically, one who thinks he's a flat earther but is actually arguing within a false dichotomy. But the false dichotomy itself doesn't actually exist in this regard. There is no false dichotomy because you can't compare and contrast something that doesn't exist with something that has a use. You can't compare something that has no phenomena with something that you can very much show. But it's nice to have it if you're a globehead, because you've got to have something to argue about if you're arguing about gravity. You don't want to just argue about whether or not gravity exists, as we would detail. Much better to argue which one's the effect that causes things to go down. Well, is it electromagnetic forces? Let's have that as your flat Earth claim, and we'll claim ours as gravity, and we'll argue amongst the two about which one's right or wrong. So long as we're all begging the question of which one's going to be making this effect apparent on a sphere, regardless of whether or not one exists and one doesn't. As long as we're arguing with two different factions, with two different beliefs, one about gravity and one about electromagnetism, we've got the nice false dichotomy in place for us flat earthers to waste our time on, rather than just pointing out that, what the hell is gravity? There is no gravity. I'm not going to argue for the defence of electrostatics. Why should I? I'll leave that to the other triggered fundies who've been duped into this false dichotomy that they need to adhere to and argue all day about whether or not electrostatic forces, which are totally irrelevant in this arena, are worth arguing about in a false dichotomy with people who think gravity is real. That's why it's done. Exactly, John.
That's not my claim. My claim is not that electrostatics is the cause, but it is effect on relative density.
Well, that's what they use as gravity, because relative density is described in gravity as buoyancy. So it is a false dichotomy. You just haven't realized it.
Well, I'm willing to learn. Like you guys might have answers that I don't have. But I might have answers that you guys don't have as well.
Okay. Pin your ears back. You fell victim to a false dichotomy, where they have an argument which fails on its arse because they haven't got anything to show in the case of gravity. But rather than arguing with you about the fact they haven't got anything to show with gravity and there's no scientific evidence for it, there isn't even a phenomena, it's much better if they claim there is a phenomena, that's not challenged, and you pit your phenomena, which has no relation or contrast to it, against it. So you argue for electrostatics, they argue for gravity, and then you're in a false dichotomy argument where either one or the other will win in the eyes of the audience. Either gravity's the cause of things going down, they don't. Mass going down?
Yes,
No.
I'm with you. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Gas does not go down, boom, boom.
Right, but then you will launch into your explanation about how electromagnetic forces work for them to argue with you about that, when it's not necessary.
Right, but I'm saying electrostatics is something that flat earthers should get into.
Why? For what reason? I've tried to spend the last half an hour explaining to you that for what reason? To contrast with what? For what purpose? For what benefit? To demonstrate what fact? To make what claim? And the answer to that is there isn't anything to compare and contrast. The only use it has is to stack up against a false dichotomy with gravity. That's its only use.
That's why I hate it.
Oh my goodness.
In the end, if you win that argument, all you've done in the heliocentrist mind is you've replaced gravity with electrostatics being the reason that things fall down and go boom boom.
That's
when
not,
they don't.
No, that's not my claim. No, relative density, you got molecules that are more spread apart versus more nitty tight. That like a block of wood will float because the molecules are more spread apart versus a rock that are more, compact. That's why it sinks.
I didn't say that was
what?
I didn't say that was your claim.
Dude, my friend. So what? That's got nothing to do with the.
But electrostatics does have an effect.
I know you've had a couple of drinks, but
us.
you're just talking through it. You're making the show unlistenable. When someone's responding to your lengthy diatribe about this stuff we just pulled apart, it doesn't mean that because we're pulling it apart, you need to interject through everybody's sentences. Yeah, just accept that we're going to rip this garbage to nonsense to pieces based on its use in a false dichotomy when stacked up against gravity. You're now detailing how relative density works. Yes, that's fine, other than that's not the subject matter. The subject matter is why do flat earthers feel it's relevant to stack up electromagnetic or electrostatic or electronic or gravitational forces with one another when they're not in any way comparable? Well, the reason is simple. So that it can be argued about with one side having a belief that things go down because of electrostatic forces, while the other side says things go down because of gravity, when in reality, it's a false dichotomy. Matter isn't going down. Gas doesn't go down. That's matter. It expands in all directions. It doesn't have a downward vector. It has all vectors. But that being pointed out isn't as useful to a baller when he can argue all day about whether gravity is favourable for his paradigm versus you claiming electrostatic forces.
Okay, so solids has a different property than gases, correct?
Yes. Fundamentally different state, yes.
So relative density of the solids are more than gases, correct? That's why they go down. I'm not claiming that electrostatics is the cause. I'm saying it has an effect on, matter, if you will.
Pardon me. I don't think you're understanding. It's not your claim that we are attacking. I don't think you're misunderstanding. You're placing your claim. You're placing your claim within a false dichotomy with gravity, and that's the part we're taking issue with. Because even in the mind of your opponent, even if you win, the best you can hope to do is replace gravity with electrostatics.
Yeah, but it's more for the flat Earth, man, because it's being hijacked. Electromagnetism is a paradigm.
Stop. Don't do-si-do us round in circles when we've asked you to give an example of that and you failed. No, it isn't. That's wrong. I don't want to spend another 10 minutes with me asking you what I've already asked you in terms of, well, show me how it's linked. Show me how it's been hijacked. You haven't done that.
So they claim that there's a magnetosphere, an ionosphere that's around the globe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that can be a circular or like a circumference of light over the Earth, over a flat plane.
Okay. And?
Not a sphere.
Okay. That's fascinating.
It can warp light. Magnetism can affect light.
Okay.
What does light have to do with gravity?
Well, they claim, photon. Okay, I can't do this. I apologize, guys. I really do.
You're right. You might listen back to this and realize that the point that we were making has nothing to do with the point you're trying to make.
Right, we don't disagree with anything you're putting forward in terms of electrostatic forces and their relevance. In general, it's interesting. I agree. But that's not why it's in this arena.
Yeah, I'm just a little cloudy right now. No,
That's fine.
I apologize, guys.
No, stop apologising. Hopefully, as John said, you'll listen back and twig what we're trying to put down. We're not trying to say, you're wrong about electrostatics. But that's why it's in the arena, so the globehead can say, you're wrong about that. If you only understood what gravity is, then you've got a nice false dichotomy set up for them to argue the toss, with their side being gravity and your side being electrostatics. And you're doing it for them. You're telling us, without any justification, how they are linked, how we need to get behind it, and how we need to see it as important as flat earthers. And we're going, no. Why? Well, because of this aspect. Well, that's interesting. How does it link to flat earth? It isn't. Well, no, it is. I see it as important. Well, how is it hijacking gravity or the effects they describe in it? It isn't. It doesn't. And so we go on. So the importance of what you feel is relevant is diluted further and further down to the point where you get to, well, why is it in the arena? Why is it that I hear globeheads and flat earthers arguing the toss between electrostatic forces and gravity? Well, because that's useful to the globe side, isn't it? Very useful. Far better than us pointing out that, no, there is no effect. Show me gravity. Oh, you can't? What's this contraption you're saying that's an experiment that isn't? No, it would be useful with wound into that crappy claim that hasn't got an experiment if you were telling them how the variables didn't include electrostatic forces, so you can argue about that and forget about focusing on the fact that they've got a pseudoscience claim in the first place. No phenomena to show. Conjured in the apparatus. Better that you're saying, oh no, the apparatus is fine, the experiment is fine, but did you control for electrostatics?
Right, you're lending them your validity of your argument. You're lending that to them when you argue about whether it's what they claim. You see what I'm saying?
That's begging the question. Like, do you control for electrostatics when you're doing so-called quote unquote, Cavendish and experiment? Do you do that? No, they don't.
It's not.
We got one in a vacuum.
God, it's going right over your head. It's frustrating.
Well, you don't need a controlled variable if you don't have an experiment.
Okay. If I say I'm going to do an experiment, okay, my friend, I'm going to do an experiment on a firework. Yeah?
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so I'm doing an experiment on a firework. And I'm going to decide on the nature of the universe as the outcome of my experiment done on a firework. Would you think it's reasonable to dictate the worldview based on what I call an experiment when I launch a firework? Is that reasonable?
Very reasonable.
No, it's not. An experiment establishes the cause of a natural phenomena, definitely not in the realms of launching off fireworks. That's not an experiment, not the establishment of cause and effect with systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. It's just me launching a firework, playing with toys. So when they play with toys, Cavendish, it's the equivalent to me launching a firework. And then claiming that it's got some scientific validity, and you coming along and going, have you control for electrostatic forces when you launched the firework to claim the nature of the entire world? No, you're kind of missing the point there, because the firework doesn't prove that, so I don't need to concern whether or not I've control for electrostatic forces. It just needs pointing out that a firework's not going to demonstrate the nature of reality, in the same way the Cavendish isn't an experiment and won't show you anything to do with the nature of reality. There's no phenomena observed.
You have to launch the firework first to see any manipulation that is going on to question the observation to get a hypothesis.
You don't know what science is. Just stop talking.
Science is a study of the physical reality through an experimentation.
All right, what's the first step? Okay, what's the first step?
The first step is you observe. That is the first step.
That's incorrect, incomplete, not correct. You don't know what science is.
You observe it. You observe it first. That's the first thing you do. Don't just repeat it.
Stop.
Okay,
stop. Doesn't mean carry on chanting that you just observe it. No, you don't. That's wrong.
That's the first step.
Stop.
You asked me what the first step is.
Hello? Do you think I need you to chant at me what science is? You are wrong. You don't know what science is. That's why you have fallen for this false dichotomy.
Oh, man.
What's the first step? You don't know.
And then you find out what the cause is, the independent variable, to the effect.
Oh, the effect. An effect. So observe something isn't an effect.
You observe first. You observe first.
Observe what?
That's everything.
Hello,
everything is observing.
Hello, Mr. Verbal Diarrhea. Hello, Mr. Verbal Diarrhea.
Then you find,
hello, hello. That means stop talking. I don't want to have to remove you because you're becoming intolerable. No, you said half of it, then you said the other half later. You haven't linked the two together. Step one hasn't been detailed by you as a complete statement yet. Therefore, ergo, you don't know what science is. You've got a vague understanding of it.
Oh, my gosh.
Step one is not observe something.
It's the study of the natural world through hypothesis, through experimentation.
What's step one?
It's that simple.
Yeah, I know that. What's step one? My friend.
Step one is a hypothesis.
No, that's incorrect. So, as I say, you with your misapprehensions about how important it is to establish whether or not a control variable is in the form of electrostatics, you don't know what an experiment is.
Yeah, yes, a control variable. If we want to be more into like semantics, more in like straight detail, yes, you do have a control variable. That's why where can you control electrostatics when you're doing quote unquote, not the Cavendish experiment? That I like to know. Where are these globers? How are they controlling that?
My friend, you don't need to because it's not an experiment. It's pseudoscience.
But
you're not picking up.
I'm with you.
You're just talking through me because you're triggered when I point out that
you're talking through me. I'm not triggered.
Stop. Right, you don't understand what science is. You've got a vague idea, but you haven't got...
Oh, my God.
You don't have to blaspheme through me. My friend, one more time, I'm just going to kick you out. It's getting frustrating. I'm trying to lay down to you. Now I am bloody pan. Every time they get to the point where they're pissing me off so much interrupting me, Neil does it as well. Every single time. You don't know what science is. Otherwise, you'd have told me what step one was, not babbled on about control variables, because you've got one that you think needs applying to a non-experiment, and therefore it's very important. It isn't. What's important is establishment of cause and effect based on the observation of a natural phenomena. An effect that you see in nature. Now, Cavendish doesn't have that effect observed in nature as step one to go forth to perform any tests. It doesn't have that. Likewise, a firework isn't a naturally occurring phenomena to need to concern ourselves with what's being controlled as control variables. So if there's no step one, observe natural phenomena, then we definitely don't need to concern ourselves with whether or not they've controlled electromagnetic forces, do we? Because they haven't even performed step one. But you don't know that. So you feel it's important to stress to me, who does, the importance of the control variable in a pseudoscience test that has no relevance on electrostatic forces being a control when they're not doing any sort of actual science. Because they don't have a phenomena. So you're saying let's control for something we actually see occurring in nature? To what? Vary and manipulate something we don't? But you don't understand that. But you're lecturing us about the importance of this bloody electromagnetic forces. Yeah, I've been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, tried to lecture the people who poison this community with this garbage. And I was turned into an outcast for it. And here I am, 4 years later, with you telling me how important it is. For trying to educate others on the significance of this very subject, Cavendish, non-experiment, and an understanding of the scientific method, I was cast out of this community. And it was made overtly clear by people who are supposed to be on my side that people shouldn't be subscribing to me, that they should leave my company.
No, you are a viable resource.
I don't need you rattling through me as I tell people about my history in understanding science and how it debunks nonsense Cavendish and the association with electrostatic forces. You don't understand that. I don't need you to kiss my ass about how relevant I am when I'm bitching and moaning about idiots in this community who don't understand science and go around telling people electrostatics is important. Now, you're still chorting through me, aren't you, Don? So you can be removed,
but why
you dick.
Are you so mad?
Shut up! Drunk wanker who thinks electrostatic forces are relevant in this community. No, they are not. There's no relevance to it. It's a false dichotomy you will fall victim to. Why? Because you don't understand what science is. Now, trying to explain that to my fellow flat earthers hurt me severely. Now, on my own damn show, I won't have you, a waffling wanker who's drunk, tell me about the importance of electrostatics. They're not. They're being used against us. Make no mistake. I understand it because I understand what science is. You do not. Like the people who told it you, and told you how important it is, and told you to consider it as important. We all know who they are.
Well done, Nathan.
What's the point of muting? I mean, I had to agree with the Glovers, dude. You do mute easily.
I muted you because you wouldn't shut up.
You don't shut up.
You stupid bastard. Get the fuck off my show, you stupid, arrogant prick. I run this show. I talk a lot. Yeah, no shit. I'm the host. You stupid dick. Go away and tell others how important electrostatics are. Because, oh no, the quasi-experiment doesn't hold them constant. My God, you sound like a complete idiot. The arrogance of telling me I talk a lot on my own show. Oh, my God.
I'd like to remind the guy that he already admitted he had a drink. Maybe he should take that into account as he's going forward on the show.
I'm grateful to him, Arwin. Like with the other ballers the other day, I said after the fact, if it's not for people like him, I wouldn't get to disseminate John's assessment so clearly. At one stage, there's a back and forth. John's explaining, oh no, there's a false dichotomy in play. Suddenly the penny drops. That can be disseminated to an audience thanks to my fantastic panel. However, if that's constantly waffled through by Don, then it's just inaudible. No, I muted him and he moans. Oh yeah, I see all the ballers have got something to complain about. When I'm triggered because I'm being told I don't understand science, I want to talk through every damn word of that. How dare you mute me? That's what he's basically saying. Now, I am, without question, going to speak for the audience when I say they would prefer to actually hear what's being said, as opposed to hear me saying, this is a false dichotomy stacked up against gravity, when we can just point out there is no phenomena. There's no need to have a claim in place that seems to have significant importance to the majority of the flat earth community, because there's dicks out there telling them so. Yeah, exercise some self-interest, maybe some discernment. Rather than just being told how important electrostatics are, go and find out what the hell they are, rather than coming here and babbling about how important they are when you don't really understand them yourself. Certainly don't understand how they're scientifically valid, or how you can apply them to a non-science experiment in the form of Cavendish. Just we're dealing with complete dicks. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And what you are being given by others in this flat earth community is exactly that. A little knowledge that doesn't bear relevance to the subject matter. Who cares if electrostatic forces have some significance on life in general? It bears no significance to the flat plane we live on. At all. Oh, unless you stack it up in false dichotomy against gravity, which has no phenomena.
Nathan, you did well, because you have to have the mute button because you're the filter for the show, and it's your show. This person already said he needed to leave 3 times before but never left, and whatever happened after he didn't leave is on him, and I want to applaud you for the way you handled it.
Well, I'm still the same attitude, 10th. I'm a grateful man. He has come and let us disseminate this to an audience. So thank you very much, Don. It's just better if when you get triggered because you've said something incorrect, you just have a bit of humility and just listen to the explanation for why and how you're wrong when you say you just observe something as the first step of the scientific method. Incorrect. But it'd be nice if you, for one, actually listened to how and why you were correct so you're better educated after the fact, rather than just talking through every single word of it because it's embarrassing to be wrong. Yeah, zero humility. That's the problem we deal with ballers. And that's why he can relate when his humility level sinks to baller level, because he's wrong about something. No, we all get something wrong at some point. Yeah, it's embarrassing. But how you deal with it is a demonstration to the audience of how high your humility level is. In this case, ever-decreasing humility as something gets more embarrassing for the individual who said something wrong. And they're like, no, I do know science. I vaguely listened to at least 10 shows when you talked about it. There's something about independent and control variables, blah, 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 blah. I do know. At that point, that's not helping anybody.
I would like to speak in his defense because I think he was tipsy, but, still you got to take credit for your, your actions. So, he was a bit tipsy when he was talking.
Fiber8 says with the super chat, thank you very much first and foremost. Note to self, drinking bad. Okay. Thank you very much, Fiber8.
Well, he got caught up. It does happen when you have something to drink and it makes you fuzzy. Well, if you then don't let go, then you forget about it, right? So he just kind of forgotten that he had a drink and got caught up.
I'm glad he's had a drink so he can lower his inhibitions and stress what he's really thinking. I think electromagnetic forces in the flat earth community is something that must be given higher significance. And he said that in a reasonably concise way for a good 20 or 30 minutes until he's, got annoyed that we've pointed out he's wrong in some respect. No hard feelings, the same as everybody else who comes here. Brilliant, in fact. Wonderful. Because that is a poison in our community as far as I'm concerned because of the reasons John gave.
It does help.
Just like to,
if you're...
Sorry, guys. Just saying that I think you broke that down wonderfully, Nathan and John, and I'd like to thank you because, not that I'm into electrostasity, but the way you've explained that, I wasn't aware of that false dichotomy, and now I am, and it's amazing how you've explained it, and now it's opened my eyes to that, so thank you.
That's John more than me. I take the great information from my panel and just make it longer. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, but you pick it up right away, Nathan. That's the thing. You pick it up right away and add to it. That's what he's saying.
No need to blow smoke at my ass. Look, the point is, it's going to be disseminated through the audience. We haven't paid any interest in electrostatic forces to see how it gets argued, the toss about. While I might give examples of people arguing it in the flat earth community in that false dichotomy, I've never actually witnessed that recently because I don't watch anything in that regard. But I can immediately picture it. I know that's why it's done. I know why it's so ingrained at the feast of nonsense when you get here that when you go out into the field of flat earth, you'll be telling your own compadres how important it is to make sure you've got your ideas of electrostatics in place for when you get into an argument about gravity. Like, bloody hell, whoever's put this into our community's done a really good job.
Nathan, I'm laughing so hard because especially on this conversation, you didn't have to say blow smoke up your...
The smoke's not a gas.
I think the big thing to take away from it is if you're arguing with somebody about the nature of reality and whether Earth's a sphere, right? And you put gravity as a viable contender for electrostatics, right? And you compare the two, you automatically give validity to gravity's existence. And the best you can hope for at that point is to prove to them that electrostatics are the reason we're stuck to a ball.
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. I forgot to talk about my showtimes thing. Ah, damn it. I accidentally set the time to midnight when you set a premiering stream up, which I'm going to have to do now while this after show goes on because OBS crashed. You immediately have the date set and the time set to midnight. And for some reason, when I uploaded yesterday's show, I forgot to change the time to 9 p.m. UK. So it just came out 2 hours after the last show had come out at midnight. So I sort of woke up in a shed load of pain. To take my mind off it, I just went, oh, what's on YouTube? Oh, my show's on YouTube. What's going on here? 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, I woke up. I was like, oh, bloody hellfire. And I knew immediately what had happened.
I was wondering why that came on. It was
just
like
an
a
error.
treat.
Just an error.
So is this OBS situation fixable for you, or do you always have to manipulate now?
It seems like there was an update 2 days ago, and I thought, oh, great, that'll solve the OBS crashing problem. No. It's crashed today. And it crashed today after I had a power cut, so my lava lamp, which is just on the main circuit, it blew a bulb and it took out everything. I was like, oh, great, just after I'd set the show up in its entirety. Everything's all laid out, which takes about 10 minutes, probably 15. Anyway, enough about me moaning. Just glad to get that off my chest. The other thing to get off my chest, did I moan about this yesterday? Oh, either way, I was editing on my iPad, and while I'm editing that video that comes out on Saturday, with the guy who's arguing about the physical geometric spheroid horizon and diffraction limits, well, while it was going on my iPad, I can hear this high-pitched squeal. Like, what the hell is that? Why didn't I notice that while the show was going on and being recorded? And then it suddenly dawned on me, because one of my tweeters is broken. I've got 50% less high frequency, and literally I didn't pick up on it while it was going on. And that's something typically I would have caught. My monitoring system's perfect, or when it's working, it's perfect. And I hear those things, right? And it's only when you listen back, and I can just imagine someone with headphones on listening to that going, what the hell is that screeching noise? And like I say, I didn't pick up on it while it was being recorded. Very annoying.
Well, you've proven one thing.
What's that?
You've proven just from the history of knowing how your ears work. You might be colorblind, but your ears got all the engine work for the colors, and your ears work fantastic.
Well, I might find that out. I had to have a hearing test at the hospital the other day.
Yeah, you're not color deaf.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how good my hearing is, but like I said, they stuck me in a room that was soundproofed with a doctor, and they had all of these different hearing things, machines with various different headphones on them and little buttons and stuff. And they gave me a full-on hearing test. Like I say, I don't know what the results of that will be. I'll let you know if they do tell me.
Yeah, I could just imagine. I could just imagine them saying, "Yeah, you failed on this one." You say, "Why?" You say, "Well, we didn't say that." No, that was 2 rooms across. I heard.
No, it's because I had blood coming out of my ears, so they gave me all sorts of head scans and X-rays and hearing tests and all sorts.
Is everything coming back good so far?
I haven't had anything. I haven't got a clue. They didn't tell me anything. I went to
news is good news.
Well, I went to the hospital about 3 or 4 times, and not related to that. That's separate. So aside from X-rays and head scans and all that nonsense, I also went in because I had a severe stomach pain, right, for weeks. And then eventually I went to my GP, and within 2-3 minutes he was like, "Your ribs are broken." Within like a couple of minutes. I know you guys already know this, by the way. So we are recording, and I know that this will now get aired. But now it's long enough after the fact. I don't care, you know. But for the last 8 weeks, I've been in severe pain, and I didn't know why until I went and saw my GP. But I've been through a multitude of doctors at that point. They're all asking me how do you feel, like I've been in a car accident, would be my answer. "All right, that's nice." And then move on to whatever their specialist field is. I remember discussing it with Adam and him talking about protocols, and you're sort of swirling down the drain through protocols until you get to a specific expert.
You know what? That kind of reminds me of a situation that I went through as a kid on vacation. I fell off my bike when it was really speeding, and there was pointy stones on that street. So I got really hurt, and it was like, oh, damn it, oh, my shoulder, oh shit, and like, oh, my parents like were there, and they're like, oh, you're all right. And I'm like, yeah, I just really hurt my shoulder. And oh, I think, yeah, I'm a little bit wounded on my elbow too. And then we're like walking, and then suddenly, like, look at your knee. And there was like this massive hole. I still have the scar there, but I didn't feel it, right? Because, yeah, what pops in your eyes first, like with you, that would be your face. That's going to be the focus, right? That's going to be the focus of you and the doctors. They're going to be concerned about that. So you're in pain. They're not necessarily going to explore, hey, did you break something else? They would have to first get like this impulse to figure that out. And you did that afterward. So doctors really, a lot of the time, especially with accidents where somebody's not total loose, right, not in an intensive care or something, they just go with the complaints. They don't automatically figure out if there's something else wrong with you that you might overlook. They just don't do that.
Exactly. That's exactly how it happened. So there's blood coming out of various bits of your face, so that's what they focus on. Anyway, shout out to Fiber Oats. He says, forever a white belt. What does that mean? Forever a white belt. I don't know what the reference is. Thank you for the super chat. I'm sure he did that hoping to get it at the outro of the live show. Sometimes if people do a super chat just as the live show's ending and the outro music is playing, I'll actually strap it onto the end of the live show. So I think that was why he did it late. But thank you for the super chat, Fiber Oats, if you're listening to this after the fact. He's probably in the chat. Yeah, he is. He's in Discord. Thank you very much.
You know, the show today was a good chance because ballers do it a lot. But today was a really good chance to show how a false dichotomy is used constantly whenever they're trying to debate this subject. Because if they can get you into that position where you're making a positive claim in relation to their position, then they'll draw all the validity from your claim most of the time and try to turn it into their own.
Indeed. Hey, John.
I thought that guy was a little bit strange from the outcome when he was more or less trying to say he wanted to prove how you can see the curve of the Earth. I'm thinking, well, I've never seen the bloody curve of the Earth. And then he was saying you can't trust your senses, right? And then I was thinking, well, yeah, trust mine all the time.
No, he wasn't saying that. You have to listen to the whole thing. He was actually arguing for flat Earth and how our eyes see that way. So you may want to listen in context.
Oh, I love when people tell me I can't trust my senses, but I'm supposed to trust you. Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Chocolate. To respond to what John said with the false dichotomy, this is within the ranks of flat earthers that I'm speaking. So because they're giving credence to electromagnetism beyond what it is, then they have this flat earth position. Then they are fighting the ballers on gravity. Then they are trying to do that false dichotomy, or it becomes a false dichotomy because they have to address gravity, which doesn't exist, isn't real. So they bring in this electromagnetism. So this guy has so many things going on at the same time that he doesn't realize that it's not the same thing, and you shouldn't be bringing it. As John said, they're going to latch onto it and then use it for their position.
Chocolate is Don Gio. You know who he is. He came in here with nonsense today.
Not nonsense, just how he's made his way through this subject and had one of the pitfalls, or fallen into one of the pitfalls, or however you phrase it, in that regard. And there's a lot of them about, right, that seem very passionate about telling us the importance of this subject matter. Now, again, it's hard to explain that, no, we're not in any way against electromagnetism or decrying the importance of it. Might be the very fabric of our existence for all I know. Wonderful. But it's not used in that way in this arena. It's not really relevant in this arena. It's just used to stack up against gravity in a false dichotomy.
No, they love their They love them.
Well, a true dichotomy
I
is
got
a
no
power.
problem with any of that. It's just, like what Nathan said. But don't say it's, gravity is actually this, when gravity is actually nothing that has been proven in any way, shape, or form, especially by experimental validation. Are you kidding? Why would you say that?
Right.
Just concentrate on the electrostatics. Don't compare it to gravity. What the hell is that? The people who purport that shit don't even know what it is. What it is? I don't know. That's your astrophysicist who doesn't know what the hell that is. Now you're going to tell me, it's actually electrostatics and not the shit that we don't know what it is? Come on, that's crazy.
Chocolate, that's a good impersonation. You got to do that again.
Oh, no.
If you don't know what something is, then you still need to control for the variable about it, right? That's what he was saying. You need to control the variable for electrostatics about something that isn't even defined. So it's just kind of confused.
I was saying, I'm going to do a scientific experiment to validate unicorns. And then him coming along and going, but have you controlled for electrostatics? Like,
exactly.
You're not missing the fact that what I'm trying to validate doesn't exist. But you want to challenge me on whether or not I've controlled a variable that you think I should stack up against unicorns. Ugh.
Yeah, and well, on top of everything else, a true dichotomy is a powerful thing because if you can eliminate one position, the other one is true ipso facto. You know?
Right.
So
you can stack it up as a true dichotomy, like the ontological primitives, and then give it extreme validity in the eyes of somebody when they don't understand the logic that's actually been employed, or the lack thereof, or the fallacious logic thereof. And if that's done, you've got one person on the flat earth side having his argument invalidated by somebody who's better at arguing the maths of gravity. Well, that's really powerful at the end of it, because both sides haven't debunked the nature of gravity itself as not being anything that exists, and neither have come to the conclusion that you've got a flat plane beneath your feet, or that space is fake, or anything that actually relates to the subject we discuss. So you can't even get a draw out of it. You're on a loser the moment you go into this discussion as a flat earther wanting to argue the toss about electrostatics. Again, I'll highlight, we're not saying they're irrelevant or not in any way useful. That's not our point.
right, it's the same thing as arguing about how much curve you see in the Earth curve calculator. You know?
Exactly, you've lost straight away.
Yeah, once you invoke that calculator, you're arguing about how much curve is there, not whether it's flat or not.
And when you argue about electrostatics versus gravity, you're arguing about how much downward vector and what causes it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, walking around with a helium balloon.
Exactly. So you don't identify the fact that they've got a phenomena that has been conjured as a downward bias when there is no downward bias. So their phenomena suddenly stacks up in a true dichotomy against something that does really exist? Electrostatic forces? No, but it gives it power, because you're going to argue for them that there's something that's in existence that the audience can hear as something that they can quantify and physically envisage as happening. And then compare that to something that they never see and just describe in maths. That's a really powerful tool for our opponents.
Sounds pretty stupid to me.
Yep, I agree. Just point out that they haven't got any validity in science, they don't have any phenomena, and then the argument ends there.
False dichotomy is a symptom of Bob Noodle.
Pot noodle?
I was just really surprised that this guy didn't know the scientific method at all, and that even when you pointed that out at him, he kept on repeating his interpretation, not even realized, like, no, that's really wrong. You don't seem to understand.
Your mic sounds different. You in a tin can?
Yeah, I think your mic settings have gone to the PC or something.
I don't know what's going on. My mic is acting weird on my show too.
Yeah. Well, join the club. My computer's shutting down. If I pop out, you know why. It's starting to shut down now. So I think I got a heat problem, but we can move on. Just
Is this better?
If I suddenly leave, you know why.
Is it better now?
No.
No.
Okay.
And neither is my computer. So what I miss?
Not a lot. Just a comparison between electromagnetic forces and a false dichotomy of gravity that doesn't exist.
Electromagnetic forces and gravity, so gravity doesn't exist. Did he define electromagnetic forces, by the way?
No.
It's more like a what is. It's more like a what is question. Not a cause and effect when it comes to electromagnetism.
There you go, Don. You're being asked to define electromagnetic forces.
Well, that's a what is, not a cause and effect.
He wasn't asking you to establish the cause of electromagnetic forces, just define what they are.
Can you be more concise? It's kind of vague.
What is the definition of electrostatic forces?
Action at a distance.
What? That's not electrostatics.
It's not magnitude?
Nope.
It doesn't have a magnitude?
I didn't say it didn't have a magnitude. I said what you said was incorrect. It's not action at a distance.
I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. I mean, if you have a better description, I'm all ears.
All right. Electrostatics, right? Intermolecular forces. That's what electrostatics are. You know what intermolecular forces are?
No, I don't. I'd like to learn.
Why are you in this discussion then?
Because I am willing to learn. That's why I'm here. If I don't know something, then I go to the person that might know it.
It's the bonds that you'd have if you've got, say, gases in the form of water gas, right? Well, those forces would be the bonds between them when they became a liquid. Intermolecular.
Okay.
Inter. That's what I said.
Molecular forces.
Okay.
Inter as opposed to intra.
There you go.
I gotta write it. I gotta write that down. I appreciate that.
Anytime. It's nothing. I didn't learn it all from you.
I'm not claiming to be the most wisest guy at all whatsoever. I got a lot of things I need to learn. It's just as everybody else.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
And the electromagnetic spectrum. What somebody said electromagnetic spectrum. What's that?
You said it.
Somebody said it earlier. I was busy this morning. I was listening in the background, snickering.
I didn't.
That was me.
Say that.
Probably. If that
was that you,
you might have caught me. It could have been me.
You also asked Nathan if gas was a solid.
It's not a solid. It's unbonded.
Yeah.
By the way.
Well, there you go. Well, you asked him anyway, and then later on you said, "Well, solids aren't gases." You have your medication.
Solids are not different property. Different properties.
I'm still on it. That's why I'm not as sharp as usual.
No, that's all right. It was flailing. You know how it goes. So you also I heard somebody say that light was magnetic. Did somebody say that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's affected by. Yeah, that was me. It's affected by the electromagnetic spectrum.
It's not. Light has no charge. It's not affected by it at all.
Well, I'm going to give you this study from.
You can give me whatever you want. Show photons with electric charge.
They don't. They're just the carrier wave.
Then there you go. There's your answer.
Right, but I'm not
Light
saying the
is neither
photons. I'm not talking about.
light is
I'm not
neither
talking about
electric
photons.
nor magnetic. Photons are light.
I was about to say photons is light.
Sure, but give me a second.
Give you a second for what?
I'm gonna post this in. Yes,
I was posting you a study in Discord.
I'm not in Discord.
I have a lot of QE stuff I have to go through. I do save your stuff, QE. I do. I'm going to be honest. Right there. They was. Give me a second. Sorry, I apologize.
Did you hear me say what? I'm not in Discord. First of all,
Okay.
But go ahead.
I heard you. I heard you now.
That extra load on my computer might send me off the reservation.
I get it. The thing is, man, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy at all. I'm not trying to come in here with the ego and think I know something that you guys don't know. I'm willing to pick at your guys' brain. You guys are wise. I'll be honest. I even said it once before, and I have people that can, account for this, that I think QE's one of the smartest dudes that I've ever met. And it's not to like, I learned, it's funny. I've learned a lot from you, QE. I have. But I take that information and I run with it. And I find other things when it comes to electromagnetism. And I get you guys don't talk about that much. I get it. But that's my paradigm now. I know the Earth is flat. There's no argument about that, dude. The Earth is flat. It's a wrap. Now I'm on to electromagnetism, and I need to look into that more. And hopefully, you guys are willing to hear it out a little bit more.
Good girl.
When I bring,
better.
Go ahead,
Neil. Or ejaculate straight through his statement.
Yes,
and
you
then
did say that out loud.
Girls, I had to get the mute button. Girls are better. Go get some girls.
He might be homosexual for all you know.
Wow, that's tough.
Well, Don, just so you know, we're not saying that electromagnetism and all the forces that you're wanting to talk about aren't interesting. They are. They're just not relevant to the subject matter you're trying to make them relevant to. You accidentally created a false dichotomy.
Right, it doesn't prove the shape of the Earth. It's not, the shape of the Earth is what is, and that's what I learned that from QE.
But it does help them in their
get
argument for gravity. It assists them. It's useful to them for you to want to be looking into it. So, as much as I want hi-fi to be linked to flat Earth, it isn't. But it doesn't do any detriment to talk about it because nobody's trying to stack it up against some aspect of heliocentrism.
Right, but see, the thing is, my question is, you're skeptical, right? Obviously.
No,
so the skeptic,
no, not at all.
You're not.
How can I phrase it?
You're not a skeptic.
I love it. I love this. It's so exciting. I really want to know more about electrostatic forces. I'm so excited for them. I love them. They're brilliant. They're the best thing ever. However, it just so happens that in this arena, that interest is used to stack up against something that doesn't exist, called gravity. You follow?
Yeah, of course gravity doesn't exist. I'm not arguing for gravity.
No, but they are, and they use your interest in electrostatic... I'm going to give up. That's it. I'm done. That's it. I'm done.
I'm about giving up too.
You invoked gravity when you said that gravity hijacks electrostatics.
Yeah, because the formula. I'm not saying the actual cause and effect. I'm saying the mathematical property. The K is a constant.
Okay,
and the G is a constant.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. He's not picking up what we're putting down. It doesn't matter how many times we put it down. He ain't picking it up. We can't do anything about that.
It's all right. Maybe.
No, the reason he's not picking it up is because he, in his mind, has decided there is no gravity, but he doesn't realize in the form we're at the people who want to push this false pseudo-gravity love it when he brings electrostatics, because now they get to a battle between those two, and that's where the audience gets all confused. It's something real versus something not real. They should not be combined in an argument.
I simply think he doesn't understand the consequences of holding on to conceptions that are completely off the table, right? Yes, the ballers and the anti-flat earthers hold on to this stuff like toys. They don't want to let go. They don't want to give it away, right? But you should know better. And if you're then gonna at first discard it and then still draw it in to try to criticize the experiment, which it technically isn't, then you're kind of lost. You're lost in what's going on.
Yeah, I'm with you here, but it's just like a religious regurgitation. Are you guys must have dealt with people that interdice electromagnetic fields, right? Yeah, it's very bizarre that how you guys seem to like dismiss the electromagnetic spectrum.
I said I loved it.
Why you guys don't talk about it?
I said I loved it. I want to marry it and have its children. If it was here, I'd give it a big old smoochy smooch.
Hey, dismiss the electromagnetic spectrum? No, I know there's light.
So do I.
Huh. So that's the electromagnetic spectrum. Well, it's
welcome to it.
Of course, it's misphrased because light's neither electric nor magnetic.
Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely positive.
Do you have evidence of this? Do you have evidence of this? Do you have a citation?
Yes.
Do I have evidence of non-existence? No, you have to show how it is first.
No, you made a claim. You said it's not affected by it. Do you have a citation for it?
It's not affected by it, yes, because light carries no charge. It's just common sense.
Well, I have a citation right here. I just showed you right here. When speed of light depends on its... I just gave you a citation right there of an apparatus that was...
I'm not in Discord, remember?
Read it out.
All right, I will. I definitely
jump
will.
your ass in Discord and look at
it. Hang on. Did he say speed of light?
Jump my ass in Discord.
Yeah, Kiwi, get your ass in there. Yeah, Kiwi. What you doing? Get your ass in there.
I can't. My computer might crash.
No, don't do it.
I mean, I don't get it. Why flat earthers run away from electromagnetism?
We don't
get it.
We don't. We're trying to make that abundantly clear to you. We don't.
It's the straw manning shit, man.
If you'll give me the timestamp, I'll go to Discord and get it and post it where John can see it.
That'd be amazing. The timestamp is 21 minutes after the hour. I don't know what your time is, but it's 21 minutes.
Oh, that should be enough. That's good. Thank you.
So, new scientists, magnetic field does not affect photons of light directly. Of course they don't, because photons aren't charged. So there you go. New scientists.
Well, that's their claim. That's mainstream.
That's their claim.
Okay.
Have you done this? Have you manipulate photons?
Hold on. He's already covered this. Kiwi's already covered this with you. So it's your positive claim that they do affect them. So, you can't charge him with proving non-existence. If you're saying that it does affect them, you've got to show it affecting them. That's how you prove your positive claim.
Right. And then I just gave you a link to an experiment that was done that actually had an effect on light. That had an effect on light. It's an apparatus of
first
magnetism. Magnetism is the hypothesis.
You said there was an experiment. What's the observed natural
right here.
phenomenon? Right here.
Magnetism is the cause. The effect is light having a different path.
Magnetism causes light. That's a good one. You drunk?
No, it affects light. Yeah, I've been drinking. That's an ad-hom.
No. It's not an ad-hom. He's asking you.
Yes, it is an ad-hom.
Everyone stop. I've got to get some order, please. So the reason he's saying, have you been drinking, is because you just gave The dependent variable is light and the independent variable is electrostatic forces. Therefore, if electrostatic forces, independent variable, then light, dependent variable, have you been drinking was a way of saying that's nonsense. Only a drunk man would say that.
Well, that's a non sequitur.
Hold on a second.
Well, to be fair, he said light path, not light.
Right. Thank you, Arwen.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to tell John that I posted that to Skype in Master B if he wants to look at it. I have the citation above.
I ain't got Skype up either. Go ahead and give me the observed natural phenomena. Nathan, you know the routine. Give me the observed natural phenomena. He already did it, right?
He did, yeah.
What is it?
Light is the DV.
No, light path. The path.
Thank you, Arwen. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Arwen.
Sorry,
Boy,
hold on. Everyone
me.
stop. Hold on. It's something happening, and you're saying the thing that's happening is light path.
Magnitude of light is indiced by electromagnetic spectrum.
Don. Just one sec.
Very strong.
It's indiced.
Hold on, Don. Hold on. We're trying to establish what the phenomena is, and you're saying light path. What's that? What do you mean?
Light path is a magnitude. It's a direction. It's a vector.
What?
So light vector then.
We're talking about
vector
light,
is not the same as magnitude, but it's
we're not talking about light's path. We're talking about light. We're not talking about the cow trail. We're talking about the cow. Got it?
Well, he wasn't actually. But he doesn't realize that. He was talking about something he's seen that apparently he thought was an experiment. So it's based on, if I heard it correctly, magnetism influencing the path of light, which is a layman's description, right? It's not scientific validated just yet, if ever.
Thank you,
so
Arwen.
we should ask for clarification.
that solves it.
The path of light is a what is. It is not a
it is a what is. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. It is a what is.
It's not an experiment.
Okay. It's a test.
It's not a test.
What is a test, QE? You can laugh. What is a test, QE? You said it's not a test. Hang on.
Shut up.
What is a test?
I fucking tell you.
QE.
But you got diarrhea of the mouth. A test in this context.
Of course I do. You made a claim, and I'm going to ask for it.
Don, this is where you moaned and bleated because I had to mute you last time. You've asked him a question. What's a test? He starts answering you. And what do you do rather than pinning your ears back? You say you're here to learn, and you're all thankful and apologetic. He's trying to answer your question, and all you're doing is saying, what's a test? What's a test? Through the top of him. Totally unreasonable. Just let him answer you.
Yeah. I don't know. You brought it up. You tell me.
Is that a reversal of burden of proof fallacy?
Is. You said test.
That's a fallacy.
Yes, it is. What's a test?
That's a fallacy.
It isn't a fallacy. You're fucking out of your mind.
Yes, it is. You reverse the burden of proof.
Hold on, QE. He's saying you've reversed the burden. You're the one who's claiming a test. How can it be his burden to reverse it onto you?
Yeah.
A test is something that you observe. Something that you observe to lead to a hypothesis that gives you a control variable for a cause and effect relationship.
This is nonsense. Wrong.
No, it's nonsense?
Yeah.
So you don't have a control variable for a cause and effect relationship?
Independent variable? Your coherency is not great. You seem to be very influenced. It's tough, science is tough even when you're sober. It's not rolling out right what you're trying to do. I'm sorry.
What am I trying to do?
Tell us what a test is.
A test is something that you do, you observe it first, obviously, because that's what you're doing when you're testing something. Then you're trying to formulate a hypothesis with your test.
That's wrong.
Okay, what's the cause?
It's the wrong way
What's
around.
the cause of this?
Stop.
I want to control this variable.
Just stop. At the point that we say, no, that's
What?
wrong, you don't need to keep going. You're just wrong. Test isn't to establish
so you're
that.
telling me the scientific method is wrong?
Don. Yeah, while I'm telling you something, you don't need to start telling me what I'm telling you. Okay, just stop talking through us. No, a test isn't to establish a hypothesis. That's backwards. You've got it wrong. The hypothesis...
No, there's a process.
There he goes again.
Yeah, of course I will.
Yeah, why?
Again.
Because you're triggered and wrong? Like last time I had to shut you down and mute you? I don't want to reach that stage. I just want to tell you how you're wrong. Have an ounce of humility. You're just wrong. A test, right? You could call it, in scientific terms, something that will make you understand why the test doesn't establish the hypothesis, when a test could be, in scientific terms, called a hypothesis test. So to test... Just shut up! One more fucking time and I'll remove you permanently, dickhead. What part of shut the fuck up don't you get? I don't need you to nod along. Dude. You're fundamentally incorrect. Shut up! Do you seriously need me to just shut you down and remove you? You don't want to learn. You just want to tell me how, yeah, when you've told me 3 times that a hypothesis is established from a test. No. Now shut up and listen to how you're wrong. Don't tell me how I'm right in the middle of it. Just shut your mouth. A test would be, in scientific vernacular, a hypothesis test. Ergo, you are testing the hypothesis, not establishing it with the test. That's arse about face the wrong way round. First, establish something that you want to know the cause of. That's a phenomena. Then establish a hypothesis. I.e., I think this causes the thing I'm studying. Then you test your supposition. That's what a test is. In scientific terms, it's the actualization of a hypothesis. It doesn't come after the test, which is what you said to us 3 times, and then barked through us when we tried to correct you.
So, supposition, I'm not leading to a presupposition. Supposition is that, well, this happens, and this is the cause. This is what we go through. There is a hypothesis. Hypothesis, the cause and effect relationship. You have a control variable. I went through it perfectly just fine.
No, you don't.
Just weird.
There's no control variables in hypotheses.
There is a control. You have a null.
Not in
is like it doesn't matter.
There is not. There is no control variables in hypotheses.
What do you mean?
There's
no control variable.
No, it's
That's
not.
a complex hypothesis.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. I win.
What? When you're... What? What?
No.
What?
We're not talking about correlation. We're talking about scientific method, Darwin. It's not a complex hypothesis, which is nothing to do with the scientific method at all.
But isn't that where the controlled variable actually enters in?
Right.
No.
Darwin?
No. In a hypothesis, you've got your independent variable and your dependent variable. Anything that is outside of that, and I do mean anything and everything, is held constant to not affect the actualization of that hypothesis. That everything is anything that you could call a control variable. You don't need to detail absolutely everything that isn't what you're going to be varying. You just have to specify what you'll vary. The assumption, the understanding, is that anything that isn't that will not be varied.
I agree. That's with the regular hypothesis, which is the foundation. But I think the guy was basically in a mindset where he was entertaining the complex hypothesis, which rests on proven hypotheses.
No, he wasn't.
He was not.
He wasn't. He just doesn't understand
Complex
science.
hypotheses have more than one independent and dependent variable. Has nothing to do with control variables. So stop fucking white knighting for him. He has no clue where he's even at.
Fine.
Maybe flat earth science versus pseudoscience, talking to Nathan Oakley and QE and Arwen. So there's that.
I'm
Get
just trying
debunked.
to clarify
Okay,
things
thank you
here.
for that.
That's all.
Thanks for
God,
clarifying.
we're trying to get to a
You're
conclusion,
welcome.
Arwin, and you're just making it inaudible with nonsense about complex hypothesis. I mean, we're not covering. Thank you. The point of this whole little debacle about whether or not he understands what a hypothesis actualization, that would be a test, is because I've got and have had in front of me for the last 10 minutes the abstract for what is presented. An original question from QE was, what's the dependent variable? What's the phenomena we're studying then? That's why we want to establish if he understands what a test is, because it's the actualization of a hypothesis. Therefore, we can establish what the hypothesis is and establish the phenomena. That's where QE was going. Sorry to speak on your behalf, QE.
No, that's where I just wanted to know. He said experiment, then he said test. In this context, a test is an experiment.
No, it's part of it. It's
No.
not a full
A test is
Oh,
part
my
of an
goodness.
experiment. That's nonsense.
That's what I'm saying.
It's wrong.
What do you?
Fuck.
No, QE just said it. Oh, so you disagree with QE, Nathan?
I'll say it again slower. A test,
Go ahead.
in scientific terms, is, by definition, the actualization of a hypothesis. Ergo, an experiment is a hypothesis test. That's what
Sure.
it is. So, given that you've sent us what you've claimed to be an experiment, what's the phenomena being studied?
Salt and water gives their go a light flashing. There's an experiment. Salt is a great conductor.
Stop. Just need to know the phenomena, the thing that occurred, that you're trying to figure out why it occurred in nature. What's that?
You asked for a test. Now you're talking about nature.
Try again. We asked for the actualization of a hypothesis. That's a test in this context. It's called an experiment. So to know what the test is, there he goes talking straight through the middle of me, explaining it for the fourth time to him. Yeah, just listen rather than talk. Then you might learn something. To describe the test, that would be the actualization of a hypothesis. Then we need to know what the hypothesis is. What's a hypothesis? Your presumed cause of an effect. What's the effect in your text you sent?
Oh, you're talking about the other... okay. My bad. We were on to something else.
I can't quite believe this, right? I know what it is. I've read the abstract.
Go ahead.
What is your claim? For the love of Jesus, you're claiming this. You're stressing to us the importance of this. But what, you want to make me make the argument for you? While you tell me how I decry electromagnetic forces? No, you're here trying to stress it to us.
We went off a tangent. Now I done forgot about all of that to reiterate everything that needs to be said.
Just need to give the observed phenomena.
The observed phenomenon is electromagnetism. You can't deny ether.
What?
Phenomena is
What
electromagnetism. So you're saying that electromagnetism, something that you can experience in nature, this establishes the cause of that.
Yeah. The ether would be actually the cause.
Ether.
It's okay. So you're saying in this that is not what you've sent. Go on, chant straight through everything I say. Have you got nothing to say, or is it only when I'm talking that you need to be doing that?
Is it only when you're talking when you need to be doing that?
What, when I'm talking,
man.
I need to be talking?
Set your own standards, bro.
Yes. When I talk, I'd like to just talk without your voice being heard as well. Yes.
Same.
Go on then.
So we have the Michelson-Morley experiment. It was done by this guy named Michelson.
Stop.
See,
We're talking about what you've sent us. And you've said the phenomena is electrostatic forces. That's what you've said is the phenomena.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Right, that's not what it says in the abstract.
Obviously.
Number one, that's not what it says. So you don't know what you've sent us.
It is a part. It is a. I mean, obviously, mainstream they twist things, but it is a phenomenon. Obviously,
Why? Because you've said so. That's not what it says in the abstract, though. What you claim it is. Did you write this?
So curvature.
Did you write this? Sorry, my friend. Why is it that when we get to a point that we demonstrate quite adequately that you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what an experiment is, and yet you've sent us this?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Talk through me. Typical baller behaviour. Typical baller behaviour. You're just a bloody fundy with a globe.
Dude, you're a baller. You're a baller.
You're talking straight through the middle of me, Don.
You act like a baller.
You done?
You done?
No, not in the slightest. You just talk through me. When I tried, I'll try a second time.
You talked through me, Nathan.
You're going to get one more chance to shut your mouth, then you're going to be removed, Don. I'll try a third time. You've sent us what you've claimed is an experiment, yet you do not know what an experiment is. We have ably demonstrated... Right, piss off, get lost. Why? Why, Don?
I never said it's an experiment. I said it's a test.
You're just talking straight through the middle of me. I'm in the middle of my third attempt. I'm in the middle of my third attempt to educate your dumb ass on science. And all you're doing, like now,
didn't hear me.
Like now, is talking straight through the middle of me. You're an asshole.
Are you kidding me?
Don,
you're
an asshole.
You're an a-hole. No, you're a-hole. Dude, I said it's a test. Experiment is not a word you want to take lightly, dude. No.
Define experiment.
Experiment is...
Okay, well, I'm trying to explain to you that you don't understand science. Now you're using the words again, like an arrogant prick who hasn't just been told that you're wrong and you don't understand what you're talking about. You now feel that you need to educate us.
Test.
Now you think you need to chant
Get it
test
through your
me.
thick skull.
Sorry, just chanting test through me now.
Experiment is something that needs to be validated. A test is something that you observe.
Yeah, we know what a test is.
Understand that.
My friend, that wasn't what I was about to detail, and we don't need educating on that. We don't need you to tell us that.
But that's
what we do need is at some point you to shut up. At some point. Obviously, you feel that regardless of anybody asking you, you need to educate us on what a test is. Nobody's asking you that. Sit down.
Telling you that.
Sit down and shut your mouth, Don. I'm not going to tell you again. Shut up.
Why don't you shut up sometimes?
Because it's my show. I'll talk as much as I damn well please.
Here.
Don, I've got no choice. Right, I'm just trying to... The only reason I'm doing this, Don, is to show to an audience why at some point I have no option but to remove cunts from my show. Total cunts, like you, Don, eventually have to be removed.
We're all flat earthers here,
Fuck you, Don. Get the fuck off my show. If I see you here again, you will be permanently removed. You will not be returning for being an asshole. Total asshole. You don't have the slightest clue what you're talking about. And in vengeance, someone like Bob Nodell, when this happens to him, will try and ruin me as a YouTuber. The behaviour of a cunt. And I'm sick of it. Just because you're a fucking retard and you don't know what science is, doesn't mean you need to permanently talk through me correcting you on that. It's not necessary. You just need to sit down, shut up, and be corrected where you don't understand what the hell you're on about. Not decide that you know better and need to tell me about what tests are when you don't know what you're talking about. Why do you feel you need to educate me on what a test is when you don't know what it is? Well, because you feel you've got a plight for electromagnetic nonsense. You won't listen to us pointing out how it's used against you. You'll just tell me how important it is and show me a test with an abstract that doesn't have a dependent variable in it. It's just a description of some quasi-nonsense. But when I ask you what your dependent variable is, you'll babble on about me about tests like I need educating. It's an outrage. You just need to shut up. Listen to people who do know what they're talking about. Not apologise for being a thick fuck and then babble through us incessantly when you're wrong.
You have him deafened, Nathan. I don't think he can hear you.
I'm talking to the audience. Yeah, the pricks, the rest of the pricks who come here and do exactly the same. The moment they're shown to be wrong, demonstrably, they won't shut up. And then they'll call foul when I have to shut them up. But for the last 5 minutes, nothing can be heard. Nobody's getting educated on what a test is, because Don's decided that every time I attempt to tell him how he's wrong, he's going to tell me how right he is about what a test is. Over the top of me every single time. Now, when I get furious with these pricks after giving them multiple opportunities to stop doing that, eventually I have to shut them down. But what's he going to do? Cry foul and tell me that he knows how it feels to be a baller? That's what he did last time. Well, I want the audience to understand. It's just pride. I dealt with it several years ago. It's been a subject on the show. As a result, I'm going to talk about it in context. The context of the discussion, Flat Earth, and how this works to our detriment. Now, previously, it was to my personal detriment. Well, now, thanks to this show and John highlighting how it affects us in a more broad sense in the subject matter, I will focus on it. Now, it's not just to my personal detriment as a YouTuber, it's to the detriment of anybody who understands this. And at the time, I tried to illustrate to Bob Nodell on Globebusters the importance of understanding the scientific method, and I became an outcast for it. Well, now I've got a justifiable reason to link that directly to the subject. There's a false dichotomy with gravity. If you want to beg the question of electromagnetic forces being comparable to gravity, all you're doing is buying into their beneficial argument with a fallacy. Now I can tie it to it and talk about it all day long. And if anyone comes to me and says, you're slagging off Bob, no, I'm using Bob's misunderstandings and misapprehensions about the scientific method to point out a false dichotomy with electrostatic forces, which, while they might be fascinating, have nothing to do with gravity. But that's how it's used in debate. So it's now become useful. Now, I applaud Don for giving me the opportunity, but what I won't tolerate is him non-stop verbal diarrheaing over the top of me and QE, while we try and educate him in science. We're trying to help him. And what does he do to repay us for that? Take his pride over and above the education we are offering by rumpusing every fucking word of it.
Can I ask you a quick question, Nathan?
Go ahead, Dicelo.
I mean, as far as I'm aware, electrostatic forces is the only thing that can essentially manipulate gravity to a degree.
Gravity. Okay.
With like static.
What's gravity? No, Dicelo. No problem. We just need to be immediately meeting in terms of the Socratic method. What's gravity for it to have an effect on it? Just define what gravity is, please.
I would say gravity is an acceleration. I'll just use that because.
No, that's acceleration. Acceleration is acceleration. No. Acceleration is acceleration.
All right. Well, it's an accelerative force, I guess.
Got a bunch of
in the past, I've
Ken
called it incoherent dielectric mutual mass acceleration, but I mean, I can understand that.
Stop. Die slow. We're trying to get you to define gravity first. You said that electrostatics have an effect on gravity. What's gravity? An acceleration? No, that's acceleration. An acceleration in a particular direction? No, that's an acceleration in a particular direction. That's not gravity. So far, we don't know what gravity is for you to justify why you think electrostatic forces affect gravity, which isn't anything. There is no phenomena for it to have an effect on it.
We can't deny that when you drop something, it falls, right?
Oh, releases helium balloon and watches you with a stupid look on your face. Cat got your tongue?
Right, there's helium.
So that goes down, does it?
Yeah.
No.
Goes up, so
Sorry,
hydrogen.
no. Sorry, you said no, did you? Or yes? Because it sounded like you said yes.
Yeah, I meant yes, sorry.
Oh, right. So, yes, gas does go down, go boom, boom, helium balloon will go down.
Helium tends to go up, right?
So not down then. So we two and O. We had two attempts to define what gravity is. You've given me a vector and an acceleration. No. Then you've said stuff going down. No. Also no.
Well, can we just call it electrostatic cling?
No, because that would be something electrostatic as opposed to gravity, the thing you're trying to define. It seems to me that you desperately want to link these two things together as a flat earther, in spite of there being absolutely no reason to do so whatsoever. And yet I've spent the entire show explaining to somebody you now seem to be white knighting for that this is only used by them as a false dichotomy to hold up against us. But yet you want to fight for the connection to gravity, something that doesn't exist. On their behalf, how does this work in flat Earth's favour? I'll tell you now, it doesn't.
The issue is that they want to. I mean, it makes you believe that you're still in space. I mean, that's the only reason why you need something pulling you down. We're in space.
No. We know why they use gravity. We're asking you why you want to juxtapose it with electrostatic forces. Not why gravity is there for them. Far from it.
For the same reason, though. It's a way to combat them because otherwise we will float.
Oh, will we? Like the helium balloon does already.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's not what you're saying. Otherwise we'll float. What, like a helium balloon does?
That's what they're saying. Otherwise, what's holding you down?
And we're not asking. Second time. Try and listen. We know why they claim gravity. We're asking you, a flat earther, why you are juxtaposing your electrostatic forces with it, given that you haven't even defined it, don't need it, it's not part of our argument, but yet here you are very keen to compare and contrast something that exists with something that doesn't exist.
Zelbo, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that the people that are trying to invoke the electrostatic cling, quote unquote, is because otherwise they believe they will float. The only reason why they believe they will float if they're in space, float, and otherwise you will go up in the sky.
We know that. We know.
Right.
And that's somehow related to electrostatic forces because...
That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Right, that's what I'm asking him. Die slow.
Just a real clarifying question. Die slow, do you think we live on a ball?
No, he doesn't. I know that already.
No.
Okay.
We still don't know why you're connecting the two together, Die slow, because it only works in the benefit of the ball.
Well, the way manipulates this downward bias.
What downward bias would that be? Sorry, stop. What downward bias would that be?
Things falling to the surface.
Helium balloon. We've covered this. This is circle jerking territory. Didn't we just cover this, Dyslow? Okay. Did we not just cover this?
All right.
Stop. So you've just started with the downward vector we don't have to make the connection between gravity and electrostatic forces. Do you understand now that that doesn't benefit you, it's wrong, and it only benefits the globe side who need to fight for a force that doesn't exist? And you're doing it for them by comparing something that isn't comparable with electrostatics. You realise that now, I hope.
I don't think gravity is a force.
It's nothing. It doesn't exist. There is no gravity to compare, even though you think electrostatic forces affect gravity. That was your opener.
We do see things sticking to the surface, such as ourselves. So
and helium balloons.
Well, helium
third time.
Balloon is a
Die
gas.
slow. You're starting to piss me off. That's the third time. So
right,
we would float away, but for gravity. Oh, because obviously balloons stay at the surface. No, they don't. That's the third time you've done it. Do you see how irritating that is?
All right, I'm just going to step out because I don't want to create any chaos. I'm driving on the road working, and
okay,
I didn't come
fine, duck out.
To start problems.
No, that's fine.
Nathan, he said that helium balloon is not matter or something like that. I told you they're trying to separate helium and gas from things that are abstract.
Okay.
Just denying relative density, that's all. It explains it all. You're not going to float. Relative density is right there.
This isn't the argument.
If you are denser than the medium you're in, you're going to go down.
You're not on fire today for some reason. You're just off the beat. We're not talking about the argument about whether or not we've got an actual description of why some things go down, some things go up, some things remain neutral. That would be the actual observed phenomena we experience. Well, we're not trying to argue the toss about that. We're trying to establish why flat earthers give our opponents a very useful false dichotomy and want to fight for having it. That's the situation.
I think I opened up a can of worms.
I'm just trying to address illusions that work forwarded, that's all.
And I agree. I
on
don't want to belittle
side
what you've said, Alwyn. You're right. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, in the same way as it's a kind of contrast to him saying, well, what are you doing, disagreeing with electrostatic forces? No. And you're saying, well, what are you doing, not taking away the fact that we do have relative density and disequilibrium to show one of the directions in a vector? No, I'm not decrying that either, and you're right. What I'm saying is, in the flat Earth community, we've got a situation where we have a non-force held up in false dichotomy against an actual force that you can see happening in nature. Why? Well, because that's very useful for the opponent, because they can present it as a true dichotomy. Well, one of these must be the reason we have a downward bias. Hello, we don't have a downward bias. Shouldn't we just be pointing out that we don't have a downward bias? No, it'd be far more convenient for the ballers if we argued about the downward bias and why it's happening with gravity versus why it's happening with electrostatic forces that affect gravity. No, neither of those are true. We don't have a downward bias.
I agree. That's the main problem. Yeah.
I feel like I opened up a can of worms pointing out that dichotomy.
Yeah, and an old wound.
No, I think it was important. This guy should have not, I mean, we got something out of it, but hopefully in the future when they're drinking and stuff and they try to keep coming back after they themselves say, I should not be here, this is very triggering. And we know the old wounds. We all share some of that with you. We all saw what happened to you when a certain person decided that his ego was more important than dialogue and the evidence for the arguments that you were presenting on the scientific method. So here's Bob Nodell. This is the fruit of Bob Nodell. And this is why Christians like myself will hold people accountable to what the Bible says and not what somebody says the Bible says. And so now here on this show, dealing with flat earth debates, we're doing the same thing. We're holding the most strictest definitions to things because look how easy they can be corrupted by a false dichotomy argument.
Absolutely correct. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.